Happy Halloween from me, Java Edge. We have a two-part Halloween special for you looking at the spooky Amityville house. I'm sure you've all heard of it. Fantastic. I will be back at the end of the episode to tell you how my audition went for Hamilton. I can tell you now, not great. But for now, instead of the usual intro music, please enjoy this Halloween song from 1960s bebop band Ian Dury and the Blockheads. It is called The Ghost of Islington Green, Thatcher's Monster. See you later. Living in a squat with Captain Nemo. Everyone's broke, there's no more hero. Can't afford a loaf of bread, only to be told that society's dead. The people, they all look like ghosts. I just want a slice of toast. Thatcher's monster roams the land. Don't expect a helping hand.
Hello and welcome to this extra spooky episode of Urbane Legends Halloween Special. I am Chris Flynn, and for my Halloween dress up this year, I'm dressed as a sexy kitten. And with me, as always, is Mr.
Neil Herbert.
And what are you dressed as this year, Neil? For the viewers, I can see it, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, you'll probably be able to tell, but I've dressed up as the like from Beetlejuice.
You have Michael Keating's character, was it?
No, it's Jeffrey Jones.
Jeffrey Jones, so just the dad.
I thought that was more terrifying.
So, Neil, are you a big fan of Halloween?
To be honest with you, it's one of those things. Yeah, it's nice to have anything that breaks up this time of the year where it starts getting dark and cold, etc. But it's because I'm a bit of an old fart. We didn't have Halloween when I was growing up.
Well, we did have it, but I mean,
we had it. But
it's massive in America, and it's kind of because of that. Then they've tried to make it bigger in the UK, but I'm not sure that it's worked particularly.
I think you do get kids to go trick and treating now, whereas when they were doing it when I was at school, but very few.
Yeah,
we weren't allowed. My parents wouldn't put up with that kind of satanic nonsense. And just basically, having to leave the house and take us around places.
The only place which I've been where I remember trick-or-treating being a thing was when I lived for a couple of years on a council estate in South Norwood near Croydon. And they used to be trick-or-treating around the estate, which is kind of weird because it's probably the most dangerous place to be for kids to be going door to door. But also, South Londoners look after our own, don't we?
Innit? It's community.
Yes, exactly. Lovely stuff. It was Cockney community.
Got your own Halloween? Beans?
Broad and Green, I think. Well, what are you doing for Broad and Green? I know your granny.
He's only forgotten to get them bleeding trick-or-treat chocolates in for Broad and Green, hasn't he?
No, Evan, but no.
Carry off to work.
I'm going to have to go break into the lock-up. Oh, no. We'll have to give him some moody fags.
Start smoking young enough these days.
I'll tell you one thing which we did, which is nothing to do with Halloween, but apart from its proximity in the year. I remember doing, like Guy Fawkes. I one year did Penny for the Guy, and I did it on Church Road in Hove.
Yeah.
Because my friend lived on a road called St Albans, so we went round the corner from there on the main Church Road, and we set the Penny for the Guy up and sat there outside the Seafield pub. And the good thing about doing that is piss people are a lot more generous, and we made quite a lot of money. Like piss blokes trying to impress ladies. Like, oh, there you go, lads, have a fiver, that kind of stuff. So I think we made about 15 quid each, which was a lot of money back in those days.
I saw people being, setting up on Boundary Road and stuff back when I was at Port Slade, but it didn't make too much money out of the Penny for the Guy.
Yeah, it's not a bad little scam, especially if you set up outside a pub.
Yeah, there you
go. Different times. We were probably 11. You're allowed to do that back then when you're 11, sit outside a pub with a guy begging, panhandling. I don't think parents would let kids do that these days because they're coddled.
Exactly. How are they going to learn to be good capitalists? They can't do that.
Exactly. Yeah, make something useless and prey on idiots. That's the foundation of capitalism. So, Neil, I've got some Halloween etiquette for you here from reallysimple.com. And I think it's probably an American website because there's quite a lot of Halloween etiquette, which, again, we don't really get trick-or-treaters or stuff. I thought I might do on this road because it's quite a family-orientated road that I live on here, but fortunately not. I don't get.
There's some good rules that they seem to establish now, because it did used to be a bit would just come and knock on your door, whatever. You wouldn't necessarily be partaking, but no, I think the general rule now, because again, it's not really ever been like a massive thing in England, but it gets bigger. But people who are taking part kind of hang a little sign outside or put.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, there's usually they know whose doors to knock on and kind of like
hang a sock on the door handle, something like that. Don't come knocking.
Don't go trick or treat in the park. There's a lot of men standing around a parked vehicle. Something it won't be delicious treats.
So here we go, Neil. Here's some real simple Halloween etiquette guides. So I'm just going to start with number 1. I probably won't go through all 10 for our own sanity.
Let's get 3 through and see how we go.
Okay. If a trick-or-treater dives into your candy bowl, which is a euphemism, with both hands grabbing as many treats as they can.
That's what you get, presumably. Yeah. Just a warning shot.
Remember, you control the bowl. If you let kids grab from it without perceived limits, some 10-year-old might abscond with half of your Skittles. Make eye contact with each child and engage in a brief conversation. What scary green makeup you're wearing? Before you place a piece of chocolate or 2 into her, or his, I assume, hand or bag. The key, children should just not take the candy. You should give it to them. Okay?
Okay, well, that seems sensible, yeah. Child could become excited and then try and take too much or be a bit greedy.
Just be a spoiled kid.
Yeah. No, I want all the candy.
No. It doesn't say there's any limit on the candy. My mother's a lawyer. If a trick-or-treater scoffs at your candy offerings, remind them of their manners by saying, I don't think a real superhero, or whatever their dress had, would sneer at a kind gesture, or a licorice twist for that matter. That's a good tip there.
Why are you getting licorice twist?
Licorice is all right.
I think Captain America would tell you to fuck off with your licorice twist.
Here you go, Neil. This is one. So you might want to shave before going out this year. If a trick-or-treater looks a little old to be asking for candy, how old is too old for trick-or-treating? There's no law. Some people get miffed when they see anyone past the age of 13 going door to door. But you shouldn't refuse to serve trick-or-treating teens. Go ahead and give them some candy. Think of it like this. By indulging this holiday, they're holding on to their childhood for one more year. Well, that or they just want sugar. One way or another, is it such a big deal to dole out a few Smarties in their direction? Is it now? Is it such a big deal?
Cold beer in there as well for me. And a sandwich.
A couple of chops.
Actually, fuck off the chat.
So, number 4. If a trick-or-treater asks for a donation to a cause, it's laudable that some pint-sized Halloween fans are concerned about more than just scoring loot for themselves, so be sure to encourage them for their altruism. Offer them what you can, even a quarter or 2 is fine, which is 25p in real money, and tell them, thanks for doing this. I'm sure the charity is appreciative of any help, but it's especially gratifying to see young people show such compassion for the needs of others. If it's a cause you don't believe in, like abortion, some parents will use adorable children to further their political opinions. Hold your tongue.
God, actually, the example they gave.
What, abortion? No. Yeah. I know I did that. It was heavily implied. Yeah, hold your tongue and kindly offer a piece of candy instead. Number 5. If visitors are festooning your front lawn with candy wrappers. Let's start with the litter problem. Although kids should not use your lawn as a trash can, some of them will do anyway. Rather than holler at every careless child, place a small cash can for wrappers next to your front door stoop and call it a night. Stoop's American for step. Number 6, if late running visitors ringing your doorbell, if a late running visitor rings your doorbell after you've turned off the porch light, which we've all got. This one's simple. No light means no candy.
Look, can't you see I've hung the American flag at half mast?
Can't you see that as soon as the cross is on fire in the front lawn, it means candy gone? Don't answer the door. If you have leftover Halloween candy, all the better. You can have a sweet treat in the morning with a glass of wine.
Oh, Pinot Noir and a fucking Baby Ruth.
I like to dip my Twinkie in my Riesling. If your plans involve attending a party where others will be wearing costumes and you're not the costume type, well, I know that you are because you're dressed as...
We're going to do an Eyes Wide Shut this year. It's what's going in.
Faking in...
back out.
Oh, this is disingenuous, Neil. Fake and interesting costumes. You don't need to don a full SpongeBob ensemble to look like a good sport, but at least act as though you're enjoying the idea of dressing up. Remember, virtually anything can be a costume. See these Halloween costumes, easy Halloween costumes are proof. You probably have clothes in your closet that are so old, you can go as someone from a different era. Fucking hell.
Wearing them.
Well, all of my costumes are Teddy Boy costumes, so wear them, or a hat, any hat, extra point if it has a jaunty feather. Or you can stick a condom on your nose, and if someone says, what did you come as? You can just say fuck nose, and everyone goes, ha, and then that's that.
Well, they just ignore you the rest of the night.
Hopefully.
What were they advising you? So you
just wear old clothes, yeah.
And then wear a hat with a feather on it. What, you dressed as a pimp? What's the end game?
No, just wear old clothes and go, I don't know. I'm from 2005. I'm a time traveler from 2005. I'm wearing jeans and a t-shirt. Something like that.
Oh, God.
Oh, here we go. Here's the last one. It was only 8.
Oh, fair enough.
If your kid wants to trick or treat, but you just can't, outsource trick or treating. Oh, lovely. Lovely. Yes, the conservative way. If your tykes need a chaperone while they cruise the neighbourhood, not David Pleat.
It's quite affected the writing style of this person, isn't it?
Very is, yeah, very much. Try this sneaky idea. Invite a few other parents, their children, to use your house as Halloween headquarters for the evening. When they ask if they can bring anything, say the price of admission is 2 or 3 bags of candy, then play the hostess. I think the same for women. Make a big pot of chili and serve Halloween cocktails before they start making their rounds. Absinthe cocktails. Afterwards, when your pals take the kiddies from house to house, you can beg off, saying that you have to do the dishes and man the front door. So there you go. There's some Halloween etiquette, Neil.
I'd love to see that work in action. We're just like, right, we're all going to go trick or treat.
You do it. You fucking do it.
Right, get out the door, go with them.
Yeah.
We're taking your kid round as well, are we?
Yep. Well, you enjoyed the cocktails, didn't you? And if you don't take the kids, I won't give you the antidote. Yeah. Something like that.
Back in 3 hours, if you know what's good for you.
I'll inject this directly into your heart, and you'll have a terrible hangover, but you'll be alive. Something like that.
Great ribs, and I pump this adrenaline straight into your heart, but there's 70% chance you won't die. So.
So there we go. There's some Halloween tips. I hope that's been useful for all our listeners from Saskatchewan in Canada, probably said that wrong, to Nepal in Kathmandu. We have listeners from all over. You're part of a global community.
You'll enjoy a bit of Halloween if you want to.
Yeah, or not. Or not. It's up to you. Not bothered.
Or, as we used to call it back in the old country, Chris, the Feast of Samhain.
Yeah, we did indeed. It's where it cuts an Irish one. Halloween. So another thing to thank the Irish ancient gods for. So Neil, I've been watching a bit of telly this week. I'm a bit of a TV aficionado.
Certainly are.
Yeah. So this week I've been watching the 7 series that so far ongoing serial Chicago Fire. Mm-hmm. It's part of like this Chicago sort of world. They've got like Chicago Medical and Chicago PD. And what it's about,
The Office. That one's not done so well, is it?
No, but it's what it's about. Okay. It's about the MLS football team, Chicago Fire, and it's basically one of those behind the scenes things. Like they did whatever they call Win for Victory or something. They did one for Tottenham when Mourinho joined.
Oh, yeah. They're doing one for Arsenal this year. I think that should end well.
Yeah, well, like the Tottenham one. So it's really good. So it's not for kids. I'd say that. It's very violent. A lot of the violence is very kinetic and visceral. And there's a lot of sex in it. But basically, they get bought out by a Hong Kong tycoon.
Yes. And
what he does is he wants to get in a load of sort of past it famous footballers, like the New York Cosmos did. Huh? Pele, yeah, they signed Pele. They signed Pele.
Which is still alive.
They got Pele. They got in Norman Whitesides. They got in Razor Ruddock. He's the captain. He's a right laugh, right? Every scene in the background, he's got his genitals hanging out, and he lifts up his pot belly so you can see them. It's brilliant. They get Lee Dixon in as the physio.
Yep.
And in a strange twist, they also get in Glenn Hoddle, but not as the manager, but they sign him for the youth team. So the guy doesn't really know what he's doing, but they still manage to make the playoffs. Then they get banned for performance-enhancing drugs. And that's the end of the first series. So I'm looking forward to the second one because they could start with a points deduction. And they play at Soldier Field, which has got 64,000 capacity. And they sometimes get upwards of 5,000 people to the matches. So it's quite the atmosphere.
Ooh.
Do you think you're going to give that a look?
I'll be honest with you, probably not.
No?
No,
I mean, there's a lot. It's very violent.
I've just got a
lot of sex.
It's all the gratuitous violence that I'm worried about.
It's mainly most of the violence is doled out by Pele,
and the violence. Oh right, it's Pele.
Pele, yeah, and he's got what he's done is he's turned up with an entourage of lads from the favelas.
Oh, okay. So it's got like a bit of a City of God angle.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
In
fact, what happens is because they've got quite a lot of space in Soldier Field, they start building favelas at the top tier of the stands.
Okay, this is sounding much more enticing now. No,
yeah. A lot of it really is about gang politics. And people from Kenco trying to get people out of the gangs to be wage slaves at coffee plantations.
Well, as is so often the case, I think it's just America giving us a vision of where we're headed in the future.
Yeah,
I think the Premier League only got so much time before they start constructing.
I don't know. I mean, there's still a lot of countries with horrific human rights records which haven't bought a Premier League club yet. So I think
once they're all owned by it, I would comfortably predict around halfway through next year.
West Bromwich Albion have just been bought by North Korea. Something like that.
Yeah. Celebrate the proud history and heritage of West Bromwich Albion. Passionate fans.
Got to play in Pyongyang 5 times a season to dead-eyed, terrified spectators who clap in unison like the Village of the Damned.
That could work. Oh,
there'd be them and
some quite good motivational techniques for the team as well.
There'd be them, and they would abduct Frank Skinner and Adrian Childs and make them do the football show on North Korean TV. constantly saying that West Brom are the best team and then have them at the top of the league, even though they're in the Championship and stuff.
It couldn't be any worse than...
glorious leaders, beloved West Bromwich Albion has just beaten Manchester United 57-0 to win the World League. Something like that.
It probably still be better and more accurate than BT Sport, to be fair. But
controversial, probably.
I've not got on too much for a lot of their commentary in the past.
Yeah, fair enough. Neil, so our Halloween special, we're going for an actual spooky tale.
We're going to go with one of the big. We're going to go with one of the big ones. We try and dole these out slowly because we don't want to run out of the big boys, the big ones. Space them out, and so for our Halloween episode, we decided to pull out a big legend and one that I've heard of for a change: the Amityville house.
Amityville, a favourite of Eminem. So, your nemesis.
For those who aren't aware of this, so gonna just sort of give it some of its bona fides. So this was originally turned into a book, I believe, which then got adapted into a movie. Not just a movie, it turned into then this long movie franchise, which has already been rebooted at least once, I think back in 2005. So yeah, they made some movies, I can't remember the late 70s or the 80s. And it's been, been on one of the Treehouse of Horror episodes on The Simpsons.
Was it?
Back when The Simpsons. Yeah, they did a very heavily, it was very heavily influenced, obviously, one of the early Treehouse of Horror episodes.
Is that where Marge is trying to sell the murder house?
Yes, and then they go and stay in it for the night or something, and they're all sort of following each other around with knives and whatnot.
Right. Yeah, I know it.
So it's again, I say, it's a big one. We all know around this one. And if there's three things I like in an urban myth, obviously there's an animal-human hybrid. I'm very fond of that.
Is there?
Yeah. Not in this particular story, but that's what I'm fond of. But
you got me all juiced up.
I might just have to make one up and shove it in at the end. There's a Batman who lived in the attic as well. But yeah, if you can't have an animal-human hybrid, the other things I want to look for is a nice bit of a story. Mm-hmm. We've got several movies that we've made out of this one, and something I've heard of, which is the same as.
Well, that's rare, isn't it?
It is
that
rare,
something you like in an urban myth? Because you've liked some of the ones you haven't heard of before.
Initially, I like. Well, I mean, okay, no, let me put that another way. Something that's going to pique your interest is obviously if you've actually understood about it. I mean, I guess where I come with this one, Chris, or why this is quite an interesting one to talk about, because I can remember sort of like when we were in early secondary school, talking about this on the bus and stuff.
Okay.
It was one of those haunted house stories that that's well known enough. You grew up with it almost. You know what I mean? Whereas the Monkey Man of Delhi, I was not familiar with when I was 12, although I did thoroughly enjoy it. So this is one of the other good things about this podcast. I get to uncover a lot of these things that I previously didn't.
So I guess for you, it's almost a trip down memory lane, the nostalgia.
Exactly.
You've got to that age now where you rely on nostalgia.
Yeah. Yeah, about the last 10 years, to be honest with you. There's nothing good or new coming down the road, so let's just look back at the past and pretend that's decent.
Chicago Fire.
Yeah.
It's excellent and new and gritty.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Let's play some TV. Right. Okay, so let's dive into this.
I've heard of it, but I'd heard of it from the films and heard of it in some songs, but I don't really know the actual real story behind it. So I'm interested to know what went on that made this jump out above all of the other murders that happen in America every 10 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, possibly they've even become a little bit more. I don't know how often. I don't know the entire. What's the word? I don't know how frequent these kind of killings were back in the 70s versus now.
It somehow captured the imagination, didn't it? So I'm interested to know why.
No, yeah, absolutely. And so we'll get into that in a second. And so I think we'll bring us to the initial story. And as you say, I mean, these things have happened, but it still is quite chilling and quite horrible. And there's various different aspects to this. And I've never sort of seen the films, actually, but I just recall this as kind of stories that we tell each other when we were kids. This would be one of the kind of ones.
It's kind of, I guess, it would be in the same category as Matasuita House or Matasuita House. Because that was...
No, exactly, yeah.
Go back and listen to that one if you haven't heard it.
yes, a similar kind of story of a house that had some horrific incidents in the past, and multiple horrific incidents in that case. This is one horrific incident. This is one set of horrific incidents that were were they triggered by a haunting, or was it by a madman who did it? So, it's why else would we still be talking about it? So, let's talk a little bit then about the actual, the crime that happened at the Amityville house that sort of kicked all of this off.
Did I have my pillow wife to hide behind at this point?
Well, I can see you already have, so I don't know why you're asking me. Well, you're just informing the listeners.
Just let them know. If you have a pillow wife, this would be the time to bring her close.
Yeah. And you see some senseless death is about to descend upon us. So it's November 13th, 1960. Not long after Halloween.
Ooh. Chills.
6 members of the DeFeo family were slain in their beds with a .35 caliber rifle. 23-year-old Ronald Butch DeFeo. Do you reckon he gave himself that nickname?
I hope so.
In prison afterwards, but yeah, Ronald Butch DeFeo Jr., the eldest child.
Yeah, but the thing is now. I mean, maybe in the 70s that would have been like quite a tough name, but now that is actually just like the gayest nickname ever. Oh, hi, Butch. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, you may well want to go for that, but it's kind of like, well, it's just it lacks self-awareness, I feel. But
he sounds like he could have been one of the people on like Jersey Shore, like. I don't know what. I don't know any of their names, but I'm going to guess one of them. Oh,
no, like, I do actually know one of what their names was, and you literally couldn't make up a more ridiculous nickname.
David the Situation Valderez or something. I don't know what his actual name was. I remember the Situation.
You call yourself the Situation. You're a situation I'm walking away from rapidly. Anyway,
what would you call yourself, Neil, if you were on Jersey Shore?
The Calamity.
Neil the Calamity.
I'm just not that prideful. Do you know what I mean? I'm just not that. It's not that I lack. It's not a lack of confidence. It's just
Chris the normal. Chris
this room. What are you talking about? Well, I'm the Alfred. I hate that whole shit.
Chris the normal Flynn.
Neil doing all right. Yeah, I'm fine. Hope you're doing all right.
Chris quite tall Flynn.
That's the thing is, it'll just like
that. Even that's a bit boastful for me.
Well, exactly, and to be honest with you, this is the thing. There's a level of compensation going on.
Chris, can't we all just move past this toxic masculinity, Flynn?
For fuck's sake, how many thousands of years do we get on fucking dicks out compared to it? Yeah, he's.
And there's a weird
as well. The situation, I don't know.
But there's a weird duality there, isn't there, of massive bravado, but also being so insecure that you need to work out all the time.
Yeah,
because of insecurity. So it's kind of, if anything, I feel a bit sorry for him. I'd like to pop him in my pocket and take him to the fair.
Might you work on your personality a little bit more? Well,
oh.
I don't know. Well, each to their own. Nothing wrong with being healthy and going to the gym. But yeah, maybe don't overdo it.
Probably don't take steroids. That is quite unhealthy.
That is not a great idea.
You're already small. What are you doing to your penis?
You'll be giving yourself something even more to compensate for every time.
It's a vicious cycle.
Windmills
within windmills.
Anyway, so Butch, eldest child, confessed to murdering his entire family in cold blood. It's really sad. I mean,
he was called Butch as a child.
Yeah, he was 23, I believe.
That's not a child.
No, well, all right, they called him the eldest child, so he was the child of the family.
Oh, right, the eldest child.
The eldest of the family. Hence
why I say Butch.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So the youngest was 9. So he had 4 siblings. I think was it 4? Yeah, there was an 18-year-old sister, a 13-year-old sister, a 12-year-old brother, and then a 9-year-old brother, and then his 2 parents.
Right.
So yeah, he just basically went around the house with a rifle and shot them all in cold blood. And I don't think he had claimed that he heard voices in his head telling him to do this. He was, some kind of demonic possession.
You don't have to do what the voices in your head tell you to do.
No, that's absolutely. That's generally, if a voice in your head is instructing you to do something, especially something fairly extreme, it's time to go and talk to medical health.
Yeah,
and not,
it was the 70s, so he probably thought it's better that I kill all these people than I show weakness by, as a man, going to have my mental health checked.
One path of action here is going to confirm the name Butch, and the other one might get it taken away. So I'm quite wedded to that identity.
There's nothing more Butch than killing kids.
Nothing more Butch running around there. Yeah, exactly. Fucking Christ. Not to be light about mental health.
We kind of, the thing is, we kind of have to be light-hearted about it because it's a horrible story, but, got to have a bit of gallows humour because that's the podcast.
Yes, exactly. So, two strains of thought here. One is that this horrific event was a catalyst for the hauntings.
Right.
But some paranormal researchers argue, in fact, that the Fair family were victims of the house.
Right.
He got possessed by a Pazuzu, presumably. He likes doing a bit of haunting, doesn't he?
Oni.
An Oni, Pazuzu, possibly some Spirit of the Wendigo. I don't know.
What was that? South African lady in the red boots? In the red shoes?
A Lady Koi Koi?
Yeah, could be that.
Yeah, could be Lady Koi Koi. You never know.
Could have been... it could have been Hairy Hands that took control of the gun.
Yes. Yeah, he had just a loaded rifle with lots of bullets.
All I'd say is there is a long list of suspects that we have already spoken about.
So he apparently had quite a comfortable childhood, but he wasn't content. So, we know about these kind of people, and I don't know if he's coming to the fore. Although his father was apparently domineering and abusive, and his mother sort of faded into the background because he was quite overbearing, the father. And he became a troubled child, gotten into drugs and alcohol to cope. All been there, Chris, but, no need to lash out.
Isn't it weird how often you hear that people who go on to become violent adults or even abusers of other adults or children have often been subject to violent adults or abuse themselves as children. Isn't that weird? How about just don't abuse kids and that, and then we can hopefully stop people growing up to do the same. It's like a horrible vicious cycle, isn't it?
Unfortunately, yeah.
It's very rare that you hear of someone who goes on to do something horrific when they're older who hasn't had some terrible childhood trauma.
Yeah. I suppose it's a cycle, isn't it, with these things? They probably had something themselves, but
So all I'm saying is non-compulsory sterilisation based on a list that I draw up. That's all I'm saying.
It's entirely reasonable. So anyway, he'd gone to a bar earlier that day. He decided to leave work at night because he was bored.
Fair enough.
One wishes that one could do that these days. Fake an illness.
He was probably working on the docks or something, though, wasn't he? Because he was called Butch.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I imagine it was very like on the waterfront.
Where is Amityville?
Right.
Where is the Amityville house?
York. I think it's Long Island.
Is it on Long Island? Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, about 30 miles out of New York, I believe, or New York City, rather, I should say. So apparently, he ran back into the bar around 6:30 in the morning. Not quite sure why the bar's open at 6:30. It's 24/7 place. Who knows? And so yelling, "You've got to help me! I think my mother and father are shot."
It's for the dockers, isn't it? Before they start their shift, like in the second series of The Wire, they have a beer and a shot with an egg in it. Yeah. Before they go and steal stuff for someone called the Greek. Are we still planning on having adjoining tombstones?
Well, yeah. I mean, we've already paid for the mausoleum, so it'd be a waste of time.
Yeah, we got one. We paid for one of the walk-in cupboards in Van Hoekstraten's big mausoleum in Sussex countryside.
The thing that we can have. There's more gold leaf than I would have thought in there. Still, I like it.
I like it as well. Yeah, and we're just going to be bricked up in the walk-in cupboard,
like any paying renter would be.
Yeah, just chucks a grenade in as he bricks it up, and we'll be buried in there with all of our riches. Yeah. So our post office books. I've got about
box of unused galactics,
ancient prophylactics. I've got about 23 euros in my bedroom. That's all right. I don't know. My
Garfield collecting cards.
My unused guitar's probably worth about 80 quid. I'll be buried with that. And that's about it, really. The rest of my stuff is
We
is
tread
actually
lightly on this earth, Chris. We don't want to create too much of it.
Yeah, exactly. The rest of my stuff is it probably costs more to dispose of than it is actually valued at. So
You don't want to build up a lot of clutter.
hey, man, carbon neutral.
Well, I'm going to pick out and see what's left. So, I mean, effectively, this awful man has kind of like killed all of his family. So he tried to sort of like make out it was they'd been hit by someone else. So they found that they took a load of people back to his house. I don't know how he thought he was going to get away with this, but they found that the bodies positioned on their stomachs. They'd all been shot with a high-powered rifle, but there was no sign of a struggle. Nobody had heard any shots. There was just the dog barking, and so pretty quickly his
Left a dog though, so he's not a complete monster.
No, that's true. Yeah, well, he just killed his entire family and didn't.
Yeah, no, but he left a dog.
Okay, no,
Maybe the dog had instructed him to do it. Who was that?
Son of Sam,
yes, Son of Sam,
and
serial killer.
And then he went off to New York City, and then they got David Berkowitz, or whatever his name was, and got him to do some killing and all. You never know. Because this was about 75.
Could it be that dogs
are about 77? Yeah.
Could it be that it was? Could it be the same dog?
Hold on to that because this could play in later.
Oh,
play in later. We've uncovered a suspect. I don't think anyone else has ever thought of. This is good.
Dog.
Yeah.
The haunted dog.
Well, follow the body. Follow the body.
Exactly. Follow the evidence.
Oh, never mind the fact that doorknob feels a bit clammy. You've got fucking corpses over here. Get your eyes on the prize. So I think he's just saying that. So there's no signs of evidence. They started investigating. He had an alibi of being at work, and then at the bar,
he fucked off from work.
Yeah, exactly. So that alibi crumbled. And then he claimed that a mob hitman had killed his family and made him watch. But mob hitman, who was real apparently, but he had a solid out-of-state alibi.
But they could...
knowing a mob hitman, I don't know, but clearly this guy was into some shit.
You can buy an alibi. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, could be. I don't know. So we got numerous suspects here, but the most likely one, the chap
was the dog the mob hitman?
No, it was a chap called Louis Fellini.
Oh.
And he made him watch. I mean, and quite why the mob hitman would want to murder his family, I don't suppose he explained either. I mean, he soon confessed anyway. The police got banged to rights, to be honest with you. But then his attorney decides to mount an insanity plea and say,
"Was the dog his attorney?"
No. Can we park the dog for a bit?
Park the dog, okay.
I'll promise you, if the dog comes up in any pertinent bits later on,
okay. Just trying to cover
the person I'm talking about is the dog. Just take it as read. It's not the dog, the attorney, or the
unless you say.
I promise you, if the mob hitman,
unless you're in the pay of the dog,
then I will bring that fact up. It would be interesting in and of itself, even if you'd not, been pursuing.
You could be working for the dog.
Questioning.
How am I meant to know what to believe?
Whether he was a man-dog hybrid, I cannot say. But the dog, no. But when the dog next pops up, don't you worry. I'll make you aware.
All right. I'm choosing to trust you, Neil, but my trust is very tenuous.
Take a leap of faith. See how it pans out. So basically, the attorneys got him down as on an insanity plea. The prosecution said, "Well, look, we know he was abusing drugs and stuff, but he knew exactly what he was doing, and he got convicted by the jury." And then later on, he tried to change the story to say that his sister, the eldest sister, killed the father, and then the mother killed all of the siblings, and then he only killed his mother and various. So he's just basically making up whatever he can.
Don't
like that one, officer. Well, yeah, no good. That's good investigation because actually,
yeah, well done.
It was
good. You passed my test.
Yeah, well, you passed the test because, of course, we could see it was my sister. You mean your sister who's got a bullet in the back of her head from the gun that you?
Yeah, but my mum did that.
Yeah. That's why I had to shoot her. You see, that was in self-defense. Anyway.
With the same gun?
Yeah.
She put it down for a second to wash her hands. So did he get life or death penalty?
Yeah,
I think it's a death penalty in New York, isn't it?
Oh, he didn't get a death penalty. I believe he died in prison a couple of years back. I think it was it's earlier. It might have been 5 years back. Yeah, he DeFeo did. He got 6 life sentences, and he died in prison a few years ago.
Was he on Riker Island?
Blaming someone else at that point, presumably. That's really the leprechaun from
I didn't realise until I watched it. It was Lovejoy.
Yeah, Lovejoy's Odin.
Yes, Lovejoy and Tinker, or whatever his name was, and Eric. They did it.
And Eric and that.
They did it because we had this really valuable cuckoo clock.
They wanted to sell it for a profit, and so he could go out for dinner with Lady Caroline or whatever her name was. Posh bit down the manor.
Yeah, she likes a bit of rough, that one. Woo-wee.
So far, whatever. There's a guy who's, obviously that's all
murdered his family.
He obviously just did everything he could to try and get out of it. And you'd probably think, well, look, he's making all of this up. Then at some point he does start to claim that he had got voices in his head. Not just the insanity thing, but it was actually sort of almost like a demonic possession, sort of like trying to instructing him to kill them. So you'd think, well, okay, this guy's an unreliable witness. I can't trust that. So I'm not. We're not taking that for granted. We're not mugs, Chris. But here's the thing: we now bring in George and Kathy Lutz, the Lutzes who moved into the 3-story colonial, as they call it, in Amityville afterwards in '75, and they're really chuffed because it's a big old house, in Long Island. They've got it for just £80,000. So they're getting a bargain here. So obviously it has been the scene of a massive mass murder over a year before. But he sat down with 3 kids and the wife, and they all felt like, no, that's fine. We can take care of this.
Yeah, whatever.
Would you if you could get like a house half price, would you move in if there'd been like a murder a year back? I think.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, you can't afford not to in this market, can you?
Well, I mean, it's going to be very difficult for me to own any property in the UK at any point in my life. So there's half price, and no one else wanted it. Yeah,
I don't know.
Don't see why not.
But they got a real bargain apparently. So
well, it's like I said to you. This house which I live in, or the basement, presumably it was all one house at one point, and it's been split up. But this place was built in like 1860.
Mm-hmm.
So the likelihood is there has been people dead in here before. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you think about the amount of people that have lived here over the last 150, whatever years, 160 years or whatever, it's more than likely, isn't it?
Oh, you almost certainly most places will have seen some sort of death. But although, I suppose it's a bit different when it's been like a mass murder. But
yeah, but death is death, isn't it?
Yeah, no, fair enough. No, I tend to agree. I just thought it'd be interesting to see.
Well, it would. I don't. Yeah, I mean, I think you'd get used to it. I mean, to start with, it'd probably be a little bit. I don't know. It's that sort of animal part of your brain which should maybe be a bit wary, but logically, it doesn't matter, does it?
Yeah, you think it doesn't change anything really. It's just something that happened in a location. Like something in the town or what have you. You just have to, unfortunately, life does move on. Anyway, so they get this.
It moves on quick, Neil. Our time is very brief.
So, make the most of it while you can.
Well, Neil, speaking about that, I've started swiping on Tinder recently. Yeah. Not that I'm sure I'm ready for a relationship, but like you said to me off air, I've got a lot to offer. What was it? You said I'm probably paraphrasing, but you said that I have a heart which is as big and as beautiful as the Milky Way, and a soul as deep as the ocean blue.
Yeah, let's go with that.
And so I think that, I should, maybe take some tentative footsteps into not matching with anyone on something like Tinder.
Yeah.
Yeah, I won't match with anyone, obviously, but it's a good way. It's a good way to get lots of rejections through in a single day.
Yeah, very efficient,
It's very efficient rejection machine.
Then then it's not just your opinion and your self-confidence that's sort of suggesting these things. You get some hard empirical facts to back up.
Exactly. Get some evidence. Yeah. People can look at your face and go, fuck him. Not interested. Not even worth getting to know. That kind of thing.
Well, that's things both ways, mate.
I think it's a very healthy system that we've put in place for people, rather than sort of getting to know someone and then sort of developing a relationship. Instead of doing that, which would probably seem weird now to do that, then because there's a whole thing about. I was listening to a podcast, and there's a whole thing about people think that choice is a good thing, and it is, but only up until an extent, because humans can't really deal with choosing anything over like 7 choices.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you get more than that, then people then want something that's the perfect bit of every single choice, and it just makes it impossible to make that choice, or it kind of puts what you're looking for to sort of some sort of unrealistic thing that doesn't exist. So yeah, I don't know that internet dating is particularly good for people, but there we go. That's the world we live in.
It's a real.
And that's why I'm going to end up being a confirmed bachelor.
Moving swiftly on. So they got a priest in to bless the house because, it felt like that would be something. But the priest, he felt an unseen hand slap him in the sewing room and heard a voice say, "Get out."
Get out. Was it? Was this?
It was Ray Winston, I reckon.
Get out.
Trying to do a demonic voice there, but I couldn't be bothered. I've got a slight frog in my throat, so I don't want to do it right.
No, that's all right. I think "get out" is a London term, isn't it? Get out.
Get on your neck, you luts. And you fuck.
Gotcha.
And then he became ill with flu-like symptoms, and his hands began to bleed. Sounds like he was having stigmata or something. Anyway,
yeah.
So that's a strange fact, isn't it, Chris? Got a priest.
That is a strange fact, Neil. Thank you.
It's not what you want to. That's not what you want to see when you move into a new house. Get a priest to come in and just make sure it's all hunky dory. And he starts
like you do.
His hands, and he's weeping for his eyes. I don't know whether they just make up more bullshit. It's like like weeping for his eyes and his ears. And then the picture started spinning around, and the devil came up and told me he'd been very.
And it turns out that they just had a shitload of asbestos in the cellar.
Well, we'll see. But anyway, there you go. So
I was having a quick look, and there doesn't seem to be a medical explanation for why his hands would have started bleeding. So I think that we probably are looking at a haunting.
No, we are. I mean, so you've had the church come around and confirm it, and they've never been known to lie about anything. So,
and you get like we all do as part of our mortgage process. You get round the surveyor, and then the priest, don't you? And then the druid,
and then a druid, yeah.
Just make sure everything's up.
Like the lawyers say when you buy a place, just leave no stone unturned. Just make sure your peace of mind. Probably nothing, but you check it out.
How much did you get the priest from that church, which is really near you, to come round and check your place out? How much did it cost? A couple of grand?
Yeah, it was cheap. But then
just rolled it into the mortgage.
The full Vatican endorsed exorcism.
All right. And was there anything there?
Not that we know of, no.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, but you sleep easy at night now.
Exactly. You just I know Satan has no dominion over my abode. So that's priceless. Okay.
Well, your building's fairly new, isn't it? Well, I say fairly new, 40s or something.
Yeah, I don't know, 20s, 30s maybe. I'm not entirely sure, actually. But yeah. It's,
probably less death there than in mine.
I imagine I'll probably die here, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
You never know.
Next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
That's why I'm getting us to record so many podcasts.
Yeah. Just not get back.
Without releasing them.
Then you can ride that little bit in the ears. You just try and just spin that out.
Well, what I'm doing is I'm taking all the recordings of you and putting them into an AI, so I can continue doing the podcast with an AI version of you.
I would imagine that's going to be a fairly simple task, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's not difficult.
It just goes. Yeah, right, Chris. Exactly.
I just read stuff out verbatim.
Yeah. It sounds like fucking Siri reading out a Wikipedia about the Amityville horror or whatever. All right, anyway, speaking of which.
Yes.
So, they've had the priest come in, that's not gone so well, but oh well.
No.
You're moving anyway because you bought the place, haven't you? But it wasn't...
They didn't get the priest in beforehand, before they bought it?
No. They bought the place. They sat down. They said, we can handle this business. We'll get a priest just in case.
You reckon the dad must have been like one of them sitcom dads? Like, oh, I got this place for a song. Oh, Larry, what have you done? Oh, we'll get a priest round, it'll be fine. He comes out with all bleeding hands. Oh, Larry.
So, anyway, they moved in anyway, but very soon they began to notice strange phenomena. So there were odours in the house that came and went. There were sounds.
Teenagers for you. Oh,
yeah. This 23-year-old sounds like he'd be, yeah. The front door, Butch, yeah.
Well, no, it wasn't Butch, was it? This is a new family, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, no, good point. No, no, I don't know the age of the kids, whether teenagers or little ones. Yeah, Butch is off in the big house now in Sing Sing.
Yeah. He's in Riker Island.
Yeah.
He's in Alcatraz.
Anyone's like, right, anyway, odours in the house that came and went, sounds. The front door would slam shut in the middle of the night, and they couldn't get warm in the house. They just keep...
Why were they leaving the door open all night?
Yeah, I don't know.
Just really friendly.
Yeah.
They wanted to trap stray dogs.
Yeah, it might go around. They kept the fireplace burning day and night in a futile attempt to stay warm, and found strange gelatinous drops on the carpet when they woke in the morning.
Teenagers for you.
Leaving the doors open, that's why slugs come in. And at times, his face would get physically transformed into an old woman with the face, hair, and wrinkles of a 90-year-old. That's what's serious.
That's just getting older, Neil.
Yeah.
I feel like that when I get up in the morning. That's why I started wearing concealer.
This is why you need to hydrate and use moisturiser, people. So Lutz claims that he mysteriously woke up at 3:15 a.m. every day, the same time that the DeFeo murders were believed to have happened. And one night, he heard the children's bed slamming up and down on the floor above him. He couldn't do anything because he's immobilised in bed by an unseen force.
So that sounds like, what's it called?
Sleep things or sleep paralysis. Yeah,
sleep paralysis, where you're kind of still asleep but your eyes open. I had that once. I've only had it once, but it wasn't paralysis. But I opened my eyes and I could still see stuff that was happening in my dreams. And it was when I was young, and I had been to a nightclub, and I was quite near the speakers hearing the boom, 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 and that just like carried on into my head, and I was a bit pissed. And I kind of opened my eyes and I could see people like dancing and sitting around in my room, like kind of projecting the nightclub into my room. So I was obviously sort of still asleep, but could see stuff. Or it was ghosts.
Ooh.
Clubbing ghosts.
Could be.
It's not that unusual to still be in a dreamlike state and open your eyes and see stuff.
No, I mean, they're semi-lucid, isn't it? So you kind of like, because you normally you retain some element of those things just after you wake up, and then it sort of slowly starts to go away, doesn't it?
Yeah, you kind of go, what's going on? All right, yeah, I'm in bed.
I once had a sort of what I can describe as an out-of-body experience when I was working as a door-to-door salesman. I was back right at the end where I kind of like, I was just really bored with it, and I knew I was going to be going over to go and stay in France anyway because I'd already gotten accepted onto one of those Erasmus things. And it was just, there was one half of my brain was just trying to pitch this guy on golf courses or whatever the fuck it was, some golf cards or whatever I was selling. And then it just really felt like dissociated and like was almost watching myself do this. Anyway.
Lovely.
There's an exciting story for you. So they're emotional.
You were so bored that your soul left your body. Started swimming towards the light.
I was almost like, sort of like, 2 feet above my shoulder. Now, obviously, that's not, like, it wasn't that. That's just like a false memory.
Yeah, I've had stuff like that before.
But it was, one half of my brain was just sort of, sarcastically commenting on the fact that, the other half was just an autopilot while this terrified-looking fellow was being pitched either golf cards or curry cards.
Someone with dead eyes.
Yeah. Yeah, well, because I can only just imagine. He's just, I'm just sort of looking there
A spectre hovering above him.
I don't want to be here. You don't want to hear it. You can see my soul rising out of my body.
I'm slowly sinking to the ground.
Yeah, there's just these claws just dragging me down. Wait a minute, I'm not going up. Am I getting a view of my own taint? This isn't how this is supposed to work. Right. Oh, you're not going to that.
It's because you lapsed your Catholicism, didn't you?
Exactly.
Let it lapse.
So yeah, and then later on that night, if all that wasn't terrible enough, because you say, yeah, fair enough, sleep paralysis. Well, explain this one, Chris. Later that night, he woke to see his wife levitating and moving across the bed, like Sigourney Weaver in Ghostbusters, I would imagine.
Wow. Could be sleep paralysis.
Don't know whether or not Bill Murray was in the room making sardonic comments.
Wisecracks.
Yeah, but there you go.
So levitating wife.
Yeah, levitating wife. So next morning, they've only been there for a month. Next morning, like, right, we're not having this.
He's got the old lady's face.
Yeah, now he's turning 90. He's like, fuck this. They fled the house in horror. They left the clothes in the closets. They left food in the refrigerator. They just got the hell out. And if they'd not left, he thinks something horrible would have happened. Maybe would have been, going around with a gun.
Oh.
So what they then do, they think, okay, we've got to take this seriously.
Why would did the kids say anything about why their beds were banging? Doesn't say.
It doesn't say. I think they were just being like moved up and down by mysterious poltergeist type apparitions.
Right.
But he doesn't know, and you know what? He's not going to muck around with things not of this earth.
You don't muck around with family.
You get some pros in. You get in some paranormal investigators, didn't you?
Yeah.
Right. So I'm gonna. One of the most famous of these. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Warrens, Chris.
I haven't, apart from the place where rabbits live.
Yeah. So there's this movie called The Conjuring.
Right.
And that's based on one of the books. So they were famous in the 70s, and they were called in to investigate the Amityville house, and they also investigated the house, and it was based on one of their true paranormal investigation.
Mm-hmm.
The movie The Conjuring. It's a true story, as is the Amityville horror. That's based on a true story. Let me just play you Elizabeth Warren, who sadly passed last year, but her what happened to her when she went in to investigate the Amityville house.
We went there that day, and I took a relic, Padre Pio, in the house with me. The relic that came in the mail that day, that very day, it came in the mail. And
coincidence?
I asked him to help me with discernment. I didn't know that house was demonic. Mm-hmm. I didn't know anything about it. I couldn't speculate that the house was haunted in any way, shape, or form. Just that we were called to investigate why one family were all murdered, another family moved in and fled. So Channel 5 News said, the viewers have a right to know what happened. That's why we went to the house.
So what do you think really actually took place in the house? Do you have any opinion on what?
Evil. It's the personification of evil.
It's not personified, is
evil can personify itself. How it can be attracted in certain situations.
Hello, it's me, Java again. Blimey, I wonder what chaps thought of that interview with the mystic lady. Just so you know, I didn't get the part in Hamilton. Unfortunately, I thought it was about the fast racing car driver Lewis Hamilton and ended up doing a 1-hour monologue from his autobiography, and it was mainly based around when he was seeing the Pussycat doll, Nicole Scherzinger. Here's some more of the song from earlier. I'll be back in part 2. Goodbye. Go to the job centre for a council haircut. Normal milk for kids and rolling power cuts. Making a living in the city. Loads of money, no more pity. Chased by police over garden fences. Buy a suit in Marks and Spencer's. Thatcher's monster roams the land. Don't expect a helping hand.